To the chief musician, I found a piece of glass in the sand right after I'd seen the tree that in the horse park where those wild horses were. There was a tree, it just kind of looked like an accident happened where it was hit or grazed, chipped off a little bit. And considering that it was in the horse, I don't know what you call it, a horse stall, where there was also blue nets, like the type if you put inside of if you put in a sea, the blue net, it'll catch a bunch of fish. So when I went to the boardwalk, I seen a star on the side of the wall. It wasn't actually on the boardwalk itself, but it was up against the side of where all the rides are. There was only one piece of glass that I seen the entire time. Now, I can't even make this stuff up. Somebody else can make it up. Or somebody else they can plan it out. But when I walked down to the beach, the Wildwood Beach, with me and my wife on May 14th, 2023, it was the 75th year anniversary from Israel becoming a nation again. There was a piece of glass sticking up in the sand. So when Jonathan Kleck says, the Lord, so I heard the Lord, he told me, well, what happened was the Lord said, document it. So I stopped in my tracks. I said, hold on, honey. It took me like 3 minutes to set up the scenery. But it's only because I seen a piece of glass in the sand. I figured, this must be the second half of the video. Alright, time to put on the X app. Let me get that video ready to go with that band of horses that U2 was singing about that were wild. Let me get that song ready. Let me record this. And then, considering Jacob Israel is talking about going down to the shore that day and then editing and working on him and the Dan are working on their bodies this summer more than before, I guess. You know, everything that you say is, it's what I'm doing, it's what I'm seeing, it's where I'm going, it's what I came across. It's exhausting is what it is. It's just because when does it, I don't mind so much doing it. It's just, at what point is there a compensation for doing something that's so exhausting freely for so many years straight? At what point? I don't know. Does it ever happen? Does it ever happen? Is this just all going to be in spirit land and then everybody disappears and it's like, oh well, back to work, Robin? Even though my work is, it seems like it's done already, but I feel like I found everybody. And anyway, so I put the X app on, I record it, there goes the piece of glass in the sand. And it was stuck there for a while too. I took it out and showed it, where you can tell that it may have rained before, because it was stuck down in the sand. It's usually just anything to, like, be just different, change things around. It's funny because I was only gang stalked one time in Jersey that I can remember. It wasn't that packed either, but I really love Wildwood, New Jersey. It's the streets are wide, the grass is green, the houses are beautiful. They're really, really nicely built. You can tell that the builders have like quality control people that make sure that those buildings are tight. I thought about looking for a job down there and just renting down there and staying there just live there. But yeah, me and my wife were just walking across the street, and the guy, it's like a mirror pull-up job in his car with him and his companion. As we're waiting to cross the street, we cross over, the mirror comes, right next to us, pulls to the side. Then Mr. Mirror Man gets out. He starts to walk to the left. Then he cuts over, because we're walking up towards the boardwalk, and he cuts over behind us and starts walking. So because I know the tactics inside and out, as he's walking behind me, I start to slow down, because you're not going to do that walking up our ass thing. And then as he walked closer towards me, I started to back up to make him move around. And I was going to follow him right up the boardwalk, but we weren't going that way. We were going under the boardwalk. But other than that, it was just that one time, literally one time. And then as soon as we cross over the bridge and get to Philly, here comes target practice, and here comes the sense of just more demonic spirits swarming around. It's sometimes it gets depressing, going from a beautiful state, coming back to a filthy one. Not everywhere in Philadelphia is filthy, but mainly all of it is. Prior to that, Jonathan Kleck is explaining the boardwalk and the Star and Christopher, the Star, the bear, Christ bearer, but Christopher, and then he showed the Green Way, and the hotel I was at was the heart of Wildwood, and I think the toilet paper rack was Greenway or so, Greens. I forgot what it was. Christopher Green, huh? Well, I'll tell you, if that's one of your other characters, I mean, you guys are good. Because I can act just like Christopher Green, too, if I had his face mask on and the sound. I can act just like a douchebag that has so much money and brags so much about it. I could do that. But, why would I want to do that? Wouldn't want to act like someone who already gives me like a sick feeling inside. If nothing else, everybody's just CIA. Everybody is 1, 2, 3, ABC, NSA, FBI, CIA. And yous all have this thing where everybody puts something under their tongue or something in the side of their jaw when they put their face mask on, or something around the edge perimeter to change up the way that your voice sounds. And I never see Christopher Green's wife. I only see him and his child. And I do realize the reptilian race, how you produce your own. But I always wonder, like, is that kid wearing a bodysuit mask as well? Because it's not really who you are, Christopher, is it? Why would anybody show their real face? And are you even in Hawaii? Or are you just under the sea in your green screen rooms pretending to be places? I don't really know. All I know is whatever I do is legit, and I don't script it, and I can't make this stuff up, and I don't even know how the hell it's even happening. I couldn't even explain how you even start to try to make these things up. Because when I'm doing something, I hear about it a day before, and then I walk it out, and there it is right in front of me. Oh, huh. Was that supposed to happen, or did you write the video because of that experience I had when you seen it 40 years ago? Or was it placed there? Did I randomly just happen to walk in front of a piece of glass in the sand that was stuck? As I seen not one other piece of glass the entire time, throughout the entire seashore. Then I'm walking back towards where my wife is after the scene, after the second time go around, as I'm playing Jacob Israel, and he's showing Will Smith turning into spaghetti. And then I walk by a bunch of rails just kind of sitting off to the side looking like spaghetti. What I don't understand is, were those rails there just randomly? Because of the construction that was being done? Or was it set up, and then so was the story about Will Smith turning into spaghetti? Just because on the recordings of the X app from years prior, when you see my recordings that I do, you know, like the recording I just did 2 days ago, when you see that, but you've already seen it 40 years ago, do you just add those little, yeah, when Will Smith is turned into spaghetti? Because I'm just walking by it, and there it goes, and there's the X app again. Here's what it is, and it's only really to, like I said, to the chief musician, the one that's in charge of the music, because I don't quite understand it. I don't think at all that you guys are literally on planet Earth, and I don't even truly believe I'm talking to people in the present time. I feel like it's kind of depressing in a sense, because will I never get to meet the people? Do I only meet you when I get out of this flesh and die? Or does it ever even happen at all? Because I would like to meet the people that I've been communicating with all this time in person at some point, or at least the representative of you guys in the flesh form. There has to be somebody, unless if it's me and I've already met myself. There's one thing that I've never had in life, and, well, it's not just me, but pretty much the entire world. I've never had the feeling of knowing that I do not have to wake up and go anywhere that I don't feel like doing. And still having a home to live in, a vehicle to drive, currency to exchange, and no worries of any types of thoughts whatsoever. How about you? Anybody out there? Are you just financially secure for the rest of your life, your kids' lives, and even if you are, like, let's say the high-end Masons, you guys that you run businesses, you own portions of this and that. Yeah, you may wake up whenever you want, and you don't actually have to really do much work, but you do still have certain things that you got to do, right? Like worship Satan. But you may want to worship Satan. You may do things that are like the rituals. In secret meetings, you have your little shindigs. But what if one day your mind changes and Christ enters into your spirit? And yes, you are rich as hell, you don't have to do anything, but then here comes the mandatory ritual. And then you decide, I'm not doing it anymore. Are you going to lose everything? So, like I said, with the people that are stuck in a moment and they can't get out of it, I've had dreams of that type of a feeling where I didn't have to do anything I ever didn't want to do ever again. I mean, you know, periodically I've had it, because that is a dream. That is an absolute, not that we're not living a dream now, even though it seems real for our entire lives, and this may not be what we really are. But a true dream come true would be something along the lines of where today I didn't actually have to wake up and go and do anything. Today I wake up from the sound of the ocean outside of my window, because that's where my home is in either whether it's the Bahamas, Hawaii, or whatever island that I go to, because basically it's like this. Where's Judas? Did he not get his piece of land? I don't know if it was specific as to what piece of land he had gotten, but Judas, he needed the money, right? So he had it killed. I needed the money, so I had it killed. Because I wanted revenge. Baby, can we still be friends? So who's he calling baby? Unless he's really a female talking to a man. Anyway, being washed up on an empty beach, like Bono was singing about, because one man, as he's saying that, he's rocking his head back and forth a little too much, with a little smirk, showing that it's him. And then one man resisted. Remember when they turned up? Remember when with Trump and they turned the T's upside down because he was the resistance. You know, I'm doing the same exact thing, but I'm not scripted. I wonder if Donald Trump is my I wonder if he's like my mainstream twin, like the same type of a person that's doing the same kind of a thing, freeing the people from whatever it is. However his role is to free us up, like King Cyrus. Whatever it is that I'm doing it in spirit, because I'm not literally doing it. I can't sign executive orders, and I can't, do any of that. I can only influence the people that sign executive orders, but I can only do that in spirit, in the unseen world first, before the creation of my actual world that I'm envisioning happens. Because in my world, it's quite simple, actually. Let's say I was given the ability to take over this planet right now, this entire planet system, and it's like, Robin, what do you want to do now? Alright, first things first, cut off the communication between recipient, gangstalker, and commander, and there is no more. Alright, okay, done. Everybody, no more gang stalking. Alright, that's finished. Number 2, we're changing the work environment with retirement, because everybody still needs to have some type of a job at some point to do some things, to learn some lessons about the appreciation, the value of life. Because you don't want spoiled people like Christopher Green. You don't want characters like him growing up with daddy, leading the way. And it's fine if he wasn't so cocky about his millions of dollars that only him and the elite are making, and you can't make anything. And he only likes to teach the classes just to be worshipped, and he could care less if you make money at all. So if you're spoiled from birth, that's not good. That's not good. If you have nothing from birth, like myself, that's not good either. If you gotta fend for yourself, figure things out, and just be basically raised in the wolflands, not good. So there has to be a fine balance. When you don't have to work a day in your life, and you don't know how to appreciate jack shit, and you're spoiled and cocky and arrogant and rich as hell and greedy, and you don't like to share an ounce of your wealth, not good. If you grew up dirt poor, left alone, not raised up, not even brought up, but just you had to grow up and figure it out. And then you had to work for a living. You never could actually stay sleeping where you just want to rest for that day and call out, and not even have to call out, just not even go, and you still get paid. When none of that ever happens, and then you have to work until you're at least 65 in order to get any kind of retirement fund, if you paid your taxes that Satan has made us pay all these years. And then let's say you die at the age of 65, and the very next day, right before you're getting ready to retire, and you can finally, really relax, and you're probably half crippled anyway, and you can't really move around too much, and then you die the next day. that's not good either. That's not good in the world that I'm creating. It's like before the foundations of the world, there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So before the foundations of the world, the true foundation, because this is a demonic foundation. Planet Earth is purely demonized. Yeah, you may have a good side of the government that doesn't lie as much, maybe. But if God was truly in charge of this world, well, here's how it would be. Homes to buy a house, you can buy a house with the money in your pocket. Almost. I would say when you're working for a living, the cutoff time of working is 40 years old. Now, I'm also considering the fact that when everybody dies from the world that I created with my children, with me and my wife raising up children, if me and my wife actually had kids together and populated the earth, I think it would be a better place, because I would father my children the same way that I father, like, the church. The fatherless, the widows, the ones with no father figure. Because I never had really a father figure either. I mean, I had a dad, a stepdad, but no real, like, guidance in that consistent care from birth, that is. And that's why I treated my wife to Mother's Day down the shore, because it was just me and her. But she's a great mom, and she even has to deal with her stepson's nonsense at times, Christian, because Christian is her greatest adversary, and she was mine. And then dealing with both of them, always quarreling, is another adversary I have to deal with. And I didn't raise my child up from birth either, because I went away, got locked up. But my kid is mainly his mother's side bloodline. So to raise a child from birth with two parents that are pretty solidly based, even if my wife is still fighting with being part of the organization side and with me at the same time, hearing everything that I'm showing and seeing and knowing it's true, and just kind of like, all right, I don't want to hear it anymore, because it's fearful, it's scary. It's scary that I can know this stuff and nobody else does, and I can tell you all about it. And knowing that I don't even talk to anybody, I just get a lot of my information from the Jonathan Kleck channel and a few others, mainly Jacob Israel Now. Between Jacob Israel and Jonathan Kleck, and a little bit of Steve Ben-Nun, and Stephen James was from before, but I don't know Stephen James. I feel like you might be Jonathan Kleck himself too. 4321, Be Still, Robin Henry Tees, that kind of thing. Jacob Israel, one or the other. There is a Enlil and an Enki and a Marduk, and between the three, like frogs, I don't think they were clean, because I think they had different intentions. Because can you imagine, you own planet Earth, you can do whatever it is that you want to do with the system. So again, my world, my system is, you work from the time that, 16 years old. You can start around 13, cutting grass, doing some chores, getting getting it under your belt. You work until you're 40 years old. 40 years old is retirement. But before that, you see how everybody wakes up and they go to work every day. Minimum wage is like 15 bucks. Minimum wage is $40 an hour in my economy. You work 8 hours a day. You work 4 hours a day in my economy. You work half the time. You make twice the amount of minimum wage. I mean, that's at minimum wage alone. And the price of a house, let's say my house, or not even mine, it's not, let's just say a house that goes for $500,000 now. It goes for $500,000. That's $500,000. In my economy, that house is going to cost 50 grand. The ratio is going to be fair, way more fair. It just, you know how the ratio is sickeningly, disgustingly unfair? I need to completely flip that upside down and turn it into just a beautiful, perfect arrangement of such a great price that when you're in that house, you feel so good with your feet kicked up because you just paid it off after working for a year's worth. And then a brand new Corvette that's $100,000. Well, it's only going to be $10,000. That's right. So if you make $40 an hour minimum wage, I don't know, do the math. What is that? What's 8 hours? 8 times 40 is 32, right? So $320 a day. Well, no, you're only working 4 hours. I forgot about that one. But, you know, you can work longer hours if you want to, but the requirement is half the day. That's, if you want to retire at the age of 40, you need to put in at least 20 years of work, because that would be half of your life. Up until you're 20 years old, half your life. And when you go to school, they're actually going to teach you about basically the Bible and the truth of it. And that's all you need to know. True history of what happened. You're going to hear a lot about my channel, the things, the stuff, the churches, things like that. You're going to hear the truth. And you put in half of your life until you're 40 years old, and you get a full pension retirement. And what comes along with the retirement fund is basically the same thing that the Masons get, which is unlimited access to everything. In my economy, all you got to do is put in a good amount of work. Not a lot to kill yourself, because who feels like waking up every day 5, 6, 7 days a week, working, doing stuff that, man, I'd rather be down at the shore enjoying beach time. So that's just to start with, and then see where that goes, to see how, because in this world, especially when I go to work in Philly, right now I'm going to work where it's pretty much just me. The past 3 days when I was working there, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, man, I'll tell you, it felt like a vacation. You know why? Because anybody that knows, or even if you're a gang stalker yourself and you don't ever catch a break, you always got to do a certain stupid tactic just because a target walks by you. I don't know. I mean, I felt like I was on vacation working, because there wasn't one person in the house. the entire time. Well, maybe one or two, maybe a couple for a few seconds. But they were outside. Because, you know, anyone that's a target, you anticipate. It's so cool how the trees are just, they just blend right up from the leaves. I should have left a little bit earlier. It's all right though. You know how you anticipate a gang stalking tactic? When there's people in the house and around the wherever you are, you know that they're going to purposely get in your way just for a moment. You know that when you look to the left, somebody's just going to go into the garage, because that's what cats do. It's what my gang stalking cat Sev does all the time. He finds a way to make sure that when I come in the house, I see him for a split second and he goes. He waits until, it's like he's programmed to wait to see my eyes, and then boom. It's the nature. Gang stalkers, I've learned, the Gang Stalk Corporation, they play out the exact nature of animals, because that's what animals do. My two cats, they stalk me. One of them will do the tactics of disappearing. The other one will wait there and up at the top of the steps and wait for you to, so he just always there greeting you. They're greeters, stalkers. So needless to say, it was kind of a vacation before I actually took a vacation for that day down the shore. And it was nice. It felt good. And that's how it should feel. But then on the third day, it's like anything that they can get, right? Satan, it's anything. So I had the front door open. And it's like, oh, all right, it's now's our chance. So the new neighbor that just moved in next door, you see there's a walkway on their property over here. Where I'm at on this door, there's a walkway, sidewalk going to the street. On this end, I had the door open over here. So just because I had the door open, little hippity hopper, he skips and jumps, hops over real quick to this side of the walkway, right over to just so to be seen, as just so I can see him. And that's what that is. That's as gay as it can possibly be, I know, but look, it's what it is. Then I go out back and I start laughing. I go down to the garage, start laughing. I look out to the back with my telescope thing, right? And I'm saying, all right, so who's going to greet me now out back? 5 seconds later, guess who greets me? Just someone pulling up in their car. Just right in the area that I'm looking at. All right, I still have to deal with the annoyance of just the fact that it's the gayest thing ever. I'll never accept it and say, oh, I understand, Satan. It's perfectly normal. So I called it, and then I went back upstairs, and the same robot that hopped over to the sidewalk was walking back up into his house that way, just because the door's open. So do you understand that it's everywhere, everything, every single moment that any person can possibly have a chance to do, Satan will command them to do, and they'll do it. Should I beep the horn at this guy? He's just sitting there at the green light. Oh, he's making a left turn. So he's making a left turn when he's in the right lane as a stall tactic. Because, I mean, I could be making a right-hand turn, getting to work sooner. He's ignorantly going to cut in front of the person that's been waiting in this long line. Look how ignorant that is. It's not cool. Not cool. Do you think he changed his mind or he's a gang stalker, as I'm talking about gang stalkers. I still deal with the gang stalking. No matter what, I still deal with it. Like Jonathan Kleck said, it's basically, it's a test. It's a CIA program where when you're tested, when you know that the law, that basically what's happening here is the law is being broken left and right. But how do you handle knowing that? And how do you handle the people doing it, breaking the laws? Even though, because there's nothing that you can actually do. There's no law for an unseen world that violates your rights. There's no law for that. That's all in spirit. So how do you handle that? It's forbidden. To the right, wild horses. To the left, the bridge that Jonathan Kleck started with the XApp that one time, pointing out similarities. Apparently it's wherever I go, wherever I decide to push record on the XApp and whoever I decide to show on it. It's just, I guess sometimes I don't want to do it because it's like, all right, not everything's going to line up. I'm not always going to, it's not always going to be somebody's showing me something just because I push record on that XApp. Well, so far there hasn't been one time that I played it and kept the footage that there wasn't something that lined up with the XApp. But how do I even know where to go and what to push and what to play? That's the amazing part for me. I get inspired to do something and then I do it. And then there it is, and it's shown to me before I had even done it. So it makes zero sense, but like I said, this is to those that it makes sense to. I don't know how you do it. I don't know where it's from. I just don't get it. It just must mean that this is a dreamland. And you can only do it through a dream type of a scenario, movie scene. So anyway, that's my world. You work for about 20 years and then you fully retire. You don't wait until you're 65 years old. You see, Satan's job is to disgust you and test you and push you and just do the exact opposite of Christ. Now, at some point, when Satan loses his ranking, it's simply because he's been revealed. That's what that is. Then, when you defeat Satan and take his seat, what are people going to call you? If you're in a heavyweight championship bout and you beat the champion, let's say you beat Mike Tyson, you now become Mike Tyson because you just beat him. You become, not him per se, but you now have his status. You now have his championship belt. You now have the seat of the champion. You're the champ. So when you defeat Satan, you now become Satan. You become the adversary of everybody who was your adversary. But yet now you have a title, the champ. Not the chump. Not the overdue champion, but the overdue champion. You become the champion. You become Satan. You become the adversary with the belt. And Satan has to take a seat. Satan has to take a seat and get behind you and have your back. Because what's fair is fair. This is a spiritual unseen, hidden battle that you get crowned at the end. It's so different from anything else. You know, you get crowned publicly in sports games, and it's like you're the champ of the world, and you get the crown, and then you know, because you're already the champ. Or let's say before the season starts, you're the champion of the you're going to be the new champion that year, but nobody knows it except for you and your team, you know, and the other team that you're going to play in the Super Bowl. That's already set up from the gate. But in the beginning of the year, you're the team. You didn't win the year before, but you're the team that's going to be the champ, no doubt. But you're not crowned yet, and you don't get the respect yet, and you don't have the endorsements yet, and you don't. But you know you will, but you don't. That's what it's like for me. I already won. But when does it actually trickle down into into reality where it's proven out? And shouldn't King Nebuchadnezzar, shouldn't he be the one that I meet? Because isn't he down here on earth for 7 years, since 2017, since I showed up, April 2nd? Wouldn't that make it 7 years, April 2nd, 2024? Doesn't it only make sense to meet the actual king himself? The king that's going to give you the crown. It makes sense to me, so I'm looking forward to meeting King Nebuchadnezzar in person after 7 years. Nobody dies alone. When healthcare it's a free thing. It's just something that the healthcare workers and doctors, they get paid just from me alone. I pay them. Everybody gets paid to get compensated for. The death, if you're suffering to a point where, I mean, it's just, you're going to keep suffering and suffering for the next couple years, and it's like, in my economy, you get put to sleep like a dog does, and you get up out of here, and you go to heaven, and then you're done with the flesh. In my economy, living in the flesh is the beginning of being able to appreciate living in heaven, but you're guaranteed to go to heaven because you're already in the flesh. You're trapped. Heaven is just simply living your soul life not trapped in the flesh. That's what heaven is, because you can't sin after that. There is no sin. Sin is only in the flesh. And the truth is told, your sins are already paid for. Your past, your future, your present sins. So when people say to you, you're sinning and you're going to die and go to hell, don't you already know what you're already here? This is the hell that we're in. It's called being trapped in the flesh. So when I take over the world, everything's going to be taught truthfully. And that tight grip is going to be loosened. And the death of Pharaoh's firstborn, considering the fact that we know who you are now, your careers are going to go bye-bye. Because you don't deserve it. Like Christopher Green's career. If he doesn't learn to share his goods and stop being so arrogant about how rich he is, you're going to lose it all, Christopher. Trust me. Or don't. I'm going to have my way with you people, because you've been turning my father's house into a shithole, a shit pile, selling birds and doves and all that nonsense, getting people to fearfully do the old nip tuck. Gang stalking goes away. Everybody gets to just be who they are. They don't have to do something. Because you can say, well, you're still a slave too, Rob, because you have to wake. I know, we all are. That's why freeing Egypt, it sounds like this. It looks like this. Everything that I'm doing is part of it. Go into the Pharaoh. Yo, Pharaoh, it's time to set my people free, because that's what the Moses statue is, the hidden hand. So Moses strikes the rock, Aaron's rod buds, and then Pharaoh's like, so I can do the same thing. I can strike down and this old serpent will come out. You got to be wise like a serpent, as harmless as a dove. You turn the other cheek until you become like the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Then there is no turning any cheeks. There's just straight devouring your enemies. You see Christ turn the other cheek before he got crucified. Once he rose up from the dead, you think he was turning cheeks? Yeah, he was turning your cheek. He's turning the eyes of the people towards the television set, turning their cheek like, so that's my world coming up. You got to give me at least 6,000 years to create it. 7. I need at least 6,000 to 7,000 years. A day is a year is a day. Don't forget about this one thing, that one day with the Lord is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as one day.